Kia ora, good evening. Fewer Southland homes will qualify for subsidised insulation with changes to a government scheme reducing eligibility and likely halving funding. Around 5,000 homes have been insulated through the Southland Warm Homes Trust project since it began in 2008. That scheme saw homeowners assisted in insulating their houses with subsidies based on income, but from September fewer will qualify. $100 million is being allocated to targeting low-income households, particularly families with children and high health needs over the next 3 years. This could mean funding will drop from $1.2 million to around $600,000. Warm Homes Chair Neil Boniface says it's disappointing, but he's positive about the refocus.
Well, at the moment they're trying to do insulation across the board, so there's general income people. It doesn't matter what your income is, you can get your house insulated, and you can get anywhere between 30 and 60% subsidy. That's all gone basically, so what they're trying to do now with the focus is to concentrate on people who have health issues and low income. So if you're low income, elderly or young people in the home with health issues, that's the priority and that's where the money's going, and they will get their home insulated free.
Does that mean we'll see more or less homes being insulated here?
I think we'll see less overall, but we're hoping, we're doing our figures now and trying to get everything all sorted, and it all depends on third-party funding. So ECA will be giving a subsidy of up to nearly $1,950 per house. So that means that for a $4,000 house, we've got to come up with two. So every dollar we've fundraised and got from our funders means that we can do a home. So, and our allocation will be somewhere in the vicinity of 300, and that's what we'll be applying for, the maximum we can, but it's dependent on how much funding we get locally.
How many people do you think will be eligible under the changes?
Well, I think there'll be quite a few, because Southland does have a lot of health issues, particularly with young children with breathing difficulties and asthma and things like that. We've got colder homes, a lot of wooden homes, so that's the disappointing part of this new focus, is that there will be people who miss out. But the ones who are the most desperate, the low incomes with both elderly and young people with health issues, they will be dealt with.
The number of tourists visiting New Zealand has reached the highest level ever recorded for the month of April, the second consecutive record-breaking month. More than 200,000 visitors arrived in the country in April, up 3% on the same month in 2012, according to figures from Statistics New Zealand. Population Statistics Manager Andrea Blackburn says visitor numbers increased despite the earlier timing of Easter, causing a drop in the first week of the month, but this was countered by arrivals being well up during the rest of the month. March visitor arrivals also saw their highest ever recorded level. New Zealand men live in fear of admitting to depression or suicidal thoughts, and it's a uniquely Kiwi thing. That's according to personal experiences of comedian Mike King. In Bluff for the 2013 National Māori Suicide Prevention Hui at Te Araha Marae today, Mr King says communicating feelings and encouraging children to admit they have problems are ways to improve suicide prevention.
I've had two attempts on my life. Once was in Hong Kong and once was on the hill here in Bluff about 5.5 years ago.
What drove you to that point?
Well, the same thing as everybody, I guess. There's only three reasons people commit suicide. One, I'm hurting. I've got all of this stuff stuck inside of me. I've got no one to share it with and I can't carry it anymore. Two, I'm causing hurt. Every time I walk into a room, I'm sucking oxygen out of the room. People who love me, I've become a burden to them, so the world's better off without me. Or three, I want to cause pain. You hurt me, so I'm going to hurt you. And I guess I was a combination of one and two.
Is there something that goes with saving face within the Māori culture?
I don't think it's a Māori problem. I think it's a New Zealand male problem. 547 deaths last year. Through suicide. The number one group committing suicide is New Zealand men, over 400 of them.
You've been to a few of these huis. What kind of strategies are coming through from what you've seen?
These huis here, look, what I know in suicide prevention, there are some beautiful people doing absolutely amazing things, but we are being stifled endlessly by well-meaning service providers who are giving the wrong messages out. You know, that they are just totally stuck in process. Someone comes up with a great idea, instead of enacting on that idea and putting people first, they're putting the process first. They're having these things micro-analysed over months and months and months. So something that started out as a single paragraph is now 30,000 words, and it's unyielding and it won't work. And what they don't realise is that the landscape is changing every 2 seconds, like a new drug coming on the market. Everything changes. You've got to act now and take these things as living beasts and adapt as you go along.
So how do you create, or how do you teach people to overcome their depression or whatever their angst may be without using drugs?
You've got to teach people to talk, to communicate.
Air quality in Invercargill and Gore is among the worst in New Zealand. Last winter there were 23 air quality breaches in Invercargill. This is when the level of fine particles in the air exceed the national standards designed to protect human health. Open fires and old-style solid fuel burners are largely the cause of the problem. As part of the review of the Regional Air Quality Plan, Environment Southland sought public feedback. 160 people responded, with more than half preferring a review of the air plan rather than a bylaw. A targeted incentive program was the preferred option to address air quality, followed by education programs. Stay with us after the break, why the critically endangered kakapo proves a winner in the popularity stakes. Welcome back. A brief to beautify the town, promote its unique character and reinstall pride into its people is the aim of the Bluff 2024 Rejuvenation Trust, now 1 year old. A number of initiatives are underway, including eliminating rubbish, a mosaic mural and working bees to plant and tidy areas around the port town. I spoke to Trust Chair Steve Mitchell about the makeover in preparation for Bluff's bicentenary in 2024.
Bluff has a lot of historic buildings and industrial buildings, some of which look a bit industrial. And one of the projects that some of the ladies in our group has initiated is more artworks on the buildings. So this project at the moment is a mural, and it's sort of growing a bit like Topsy, but the mural will sort of bring the outdoors in a sense, and have kaimoana and native bird life as themes. And there's a local lady who does beautiful mosaics with tiles and crockery, and that'll become part of it as well. So any donations of broken tiles and crockery, particularly coloured pieces, be most welcome.
So with the Auckland to Bluff yacht race that's proposed for February next year, what sort of things do you have in mind to get done before that happens?
Well, we'd just like the town to be welcoming to our guests. We'd like them to be able to appreciate both the history of Bluff, which is the most historic town in New Zealand. It's the longest continuously settled town since the European era, and also the natural history of Bluff, which is being actively preserved by the Bluff Hill Motapahoi Wildlife Trust, who trap small mammals, and the bird life, the native bird life has just exploded in numbers in recent times, and it's a wonderful thing for people to see.
How is this funded? Are they volunteers, and where's the money coming from?
Money? What money? We receive a small amount of funding from the council, and as we develop projects we'll obviously apply to community funding organisations for assistance, but this project behind me here is being funded by local people and businesses who sponsored the mural.
What about manpower?
That's blood, sweat and tears from Bluff locals.
You're not from Bluff. What's your perception of Bluff when you first arrived here?
Oh, I love the place. It's a diamond in the rough, and it has far more to offer than most people, even locals, understand. It's a great place with a great future.
Southland parents will next week have their say on who will guide the future direction of their children's schools. 40 schools from Wakatipu South will hold Board of Trustees elections on May 30th, with 3 elected representatives needed for each. More than half of those schools have over 7 candidates. A school board employs staff, sets the school's strategic direction and ensures the school provides a safe environment and quality education. Boards are made up of parent-elected trustees, the school principal, plus staff and a student-elected representative. Southland Primary Principals Association President Ben Witherford says the retention of trustees is a big concern.
In my experience, it takes a new trustee at least 12 months minimum, and sometimes some trustees have said to me personally that after the first three-year term they've done, they feel like they've got a really good handle on the role. And so if you're turning over trustees after a 3-year period and they just feel like they know what they're doing, and that happens in too great a number for a school, you'd lose a lot of institutional knowledge. So it's really important that, say a board has 5 parent reps on it, if 2 or 3 of those are remaining on and continuing on, that really helps the continuity of the school.
You would encourage parents even to stay on once their children have left the school?
Yeah, and that's individual cases for boards. I've got one trustee in my school that's restanding for the election, and he feels like he's only been on for 1 term and he's still got a contribution to make, so he's put his name forward again, and it's now up to the parents to elect him or not.
5 Southlanders are among those whose achievements are being recognised at Government House this week. 130 people are being recognised at investiture ceremonies hosted by Governor-General Sir Jerry Matapaere. Among them, Noel Anderson of Riverton was awarded the Queen's Service Medal for services to Coast Guard yesterday. Today, Gorman Frederick Cooper was awarded the QSM for services to the community, as was Winton Chief Fire Officer Ian Lindsay for services to the fire service. Invercargill man John Smith was awarded the New Zealand Order of Merit for services to business and the community. On Friday, Southland Paralympian Laura Fairweather will be named a member of the New Zealand Order of Merit. The kakapo has been voted the world's best loved species in an international poll. The critically endangered species topped a list in a poll by wildlife education charity Wildscreen, which saw 14,500 votes cast. Wildscreen Chief Executive Richard Edwards says it was expected a more high-profile animal would come out on top. There are only 124 kakapo globally. Kakapo Recovery Program Manager Deirdre Vercoe-Scott says the BBC show The Last Chance to See, featuring Sirocco the kakapo, has helped to boost the species' popularity, acting as a catalyst for people to look deeper. Also in the top 5 species, the tiger, African elephant, grey wolf and polar bear. And that's it from the news. Coming up in sport, a mixed result for the Southland Sharks at the weekend as the competition for playoff spots heats up. From the news team, good night.